Is this a decision that you celebrate?
Thank you. I never used the word celebrate. It's a decision that's the right decision, and I'm pleased for the people of Epping. As a council, we always said the bell was not suitable for this purpose because it's in close proximity to 5 local schools, residential properties, and to a residential care home. It just wasn't the right location.
The case seemed to hinge on the use of planning laws or the lack of changing of those planning laws to allow that hotel to become available for asylum seekers. Does this then mean that any hotel that doesn't do that, even in the area of Epping, will fall foul to a similar High Court ruling?
I think it will be down to each individual council to assess on planning rules, and that's what we did.
Do you understand the government's concern that this might open the door to every council now taking these hotels to court, or at least the government to court, for their role in it?
I accept their concerns, but I think they should have a better plan, and they should have a plan B in place for this eventuality.
Plan B would be houses of multiple occupancy. So you could
not necessarily. Sorry, I interrupted.
That's all right, sir. We're going to have to put them somewhere. If it's not a hotel in Epping, it might be HMOs in Epping. Would you take that to court as well?
I don't think that would be a good decision by the government. I don't know why the government isn't looking at pop-up processing centres along the lines of what was done during the pandemic with the pop-up hospitals. There are other ways of dealing with this. And one of the interesting things that came up yesterday in court from our representative was that perhaps they could use Crown Estates land in order to do that type of arrangement. There are other ways the government can deal with the processing problem.
What would that look like potentially then, Chris? Crown Estate land? How would that be used?
Well, that's down to the government, but I've just given a suggestion there.
The government property, state land in effect, would be used as a place to house securely people who would come over on boats?
Exactly.
Do you worry that there's going to be then more violence, more protests outside the hotels, whether they're in Epping or other places, as part of a way of bringing court cases?
As I've done from day one, when this all started back in July, I've called for calm and peaceful protest if there has to be protest. Unfortunately, at the very beginning of this issue we've had in Epping, there were some violent protests caused by extremes from both sides of the political equation. Which was really worrying and really upsetting. I have to say to you, the people of Epping, most of them have dealt quietly with their concerns, have come to us quietly and said, look, we don't believe the bell is the right place, we think it should be shut, but they've just gone on with their lives. Unfortunately, the disruption of any form of protest has affected the town.
So any attempt to house the asylum seekers that are going to be moved from the Bell Hotel in either any other hotel in Epping or in HMOs, you would seek to challenge, Chris?
I would not rather that the government consult with us about what they're planning, because the trouble is with the whole Bell issue is the government have failed to consult with us. The previous government did, and they did listen to our concerns. So, for instance, during the pandemic, it was used to house families, young children and families, not single men. The government this time acted without proper consultation. They instructed us what they were doing, and they didn't think about the local community, and they didn't listen to our concerns. That's why this went so badly wrong for the government. And it's a government that doesn't listen. I've tried to speak to the Home Office officials. They didn't want to listen. All you get is the stock reply. We will try to end using hotels by the end of this Parliament. 4 years is too long in a small town like Epping.
Very good to talk to you. Thank you for coming on the programme. Chris Whitbread is the leader of Epping Forest District Council, leading that High Court bid to block asylum seekers from being housed in that hotel. Kay Marsh is listening to that, community engagement and migrant support coordinator at the Sapphire Project, campaign group based in Dover. Thank you for coming on, Kay. Your reaction to that ruling?
Well, it's worrying, isn't it? I mean, if not hotels, then where? The use of hotels has never been ideal, of course, and, I think everybody would like to see the end of the use of hotels. But if not hotels, then where? We've got Napier Barracks as a mass accommodation camp down here in Kent. That's due to close as well. There doesn't seem to be a plan B. There doesn't seem to be any sort of firm where these people are going to go when these places close.
Do you understand and accept the reasons why people in Epping protested at the use of this hotel, particularly with the type of people that were being housed in it?
I think that, you know, certain individuals cause issues, but it's not representative of the majority of these people. Most people just want to live a quiet life and, you know, make it through the asylum system. I think another worrying aspect of this is, of course, that violent protest did bring this about. And by this ruling, I think other violent protesters might feel emboldened to do the same thing around the country.
Would you be comfortable, happy, to live next to or to have next to you a hotel housing asylum seekers, mainly young men?
I've voluntarily gone into Napier Barracks and worked there and worked with the people there. So, and you know, I've met hundreds of these people. And as I say, the majority are just normal people that want a nice, quiet life. Yes, I would feel safe.
So what is it that people, in your mind, don't understand or fail to see or are told falsely about the people inside those hotels that leads them to either protest violently or to protest peacefully?
The issue has always been the miscommunication and the use of isolated incidents. You know, there's bad people in every community, you know, bad things happen, but it's not representative of all of the people within that community. No. So, it's always been an issue.
That being said, I agree with you on that, of course. That being said, part of the issue with this is that the government don't seem to be consulting with local residents or even, in this case, the local council to say that this is happening. It just happens without explanation. That's not reasonable.
No, I absolutely agree. You know, we've had similar issues down here, again, with Napier Barracks when it first opened. You know, even support organisations like Sapphire weren't made aware. So it's not just, you know, people on the anti side, it's also people on the pro side that aren't being consulted. And that does lead to community tensions. And you know, people don't feel like they're being heard.
Do you think then the most reasonable way of solving this, or at least trying to deal with this, is to find a form of accommodation, whatever that may be, that means that people who arrive in it are kept in it and don't have the freedom to walk into a town or walk into to wherever?
I think the danger of that becomes, you know, we are then essentially detaining people that haven't really done anything wrong. We do have detention centres, but, you know, if somebody is innocent and hasn't committed a crime, should they be detained and locked up in such a way? Or is that, you know, a breach of human rights? It's certainly a very complex issue, and there doesn't seem to be a suitable plan B.